The champagne flutes trembled in my hand as I scanned the room, my heart pounding in a rhythm I couldn't control. The soft hum of conversation, the gentle clinking of glasses, the warm glow of fairy lights, it should have felt like celebration. But something inside me snapped like a thin wire straining under too much weight. There, in the corner, laughing like they owned the world, was him. Her ex. My fiancé's ex. And the way she smiled at him made my chest tighten, until I couldn't breathe. "I don't see why this is a problem," she had said earlier that afternoon, brushing my concern aside with a flick of her manicured hand. "He's just a friend. I don't owe you loyalty." The words echoed in my skull now, brittle and poisonous, and I realized with a cold, sinking dread that the betrayal had already begun long before this moment. I remembered the subtle signs, the almost imperceptible things I'd ignored. The extra long phone call she took late at night, the faint blush that colored her cheeks when certain names came up, the way she'd sometimes cancel plans and offer excuses so thin they practically shredded themselves. I had dismissed them, told myself I was being paranoid. But now, seeing him there, the laughter in her eyes aimed squarely at him, I understood. I had been a fool, blind in love, and I had walked willingly into a trap of my own making. I approached them, my steps careful but trembling. The room seemed to tilt, the walls narrowing, the music fading into an unbearable, muffled drone. "So, I see you two know each other well," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Her smile didn't falter. In fact, it seemed sharper now, like a knife carefully honed over months of deceit. "Oh, we've kept in touch," she said casually, as if confessing a mundane fact. "You know, friends." Friends. The word made me laugh bitterly in my own mind. Friends don't get invited to engagement parties at the insistence of the bride. Friends don't get the privileged space beside her. The playful whispers meant for no one else. Friends don't provoke this storm in a man's chest, a storm so potent it made my hands shake with both rage and heartbreak. I excused myself, wandering into the balcony where the night air bit my skin and the city lights stretched endlessly below. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. I wanted to disappear and take the memory of her voice, the softness of her touch, the laughter I thought was ours alone, and burn it all. But more than that, I wanted answers. I wanted the truth. When I returned, she was there, waiting with a cold, deliberate calm that made my stomach churn. "Do you want to talk?" she asked, her voice deceptively gentle. "Yes," I said, the single word tasting like ash. "I need to understand why you invited him. Why you don't feel bound to us." She shrugged, a movement so small it was almost imperceptible, but it carried a weight that crushed me. "Because I don't," she said simply. "I'm not obligated to your sense of morality. I don't owe you loyalty the way you think you deserve it." It felt like the floor had been ripped from beneath me. I saw in her eyes the truth I had hoped, prayed, was impossible. She had made a choice and I wasn't it. And yet, there was something more, something that made my anger twist into something sharper, more raw. There was no glee in her betrayal, no malicious intent, only a quiet, unwavering selfishness that rendered everything I had believed meaningless. The night stretched on like a slow, cruel eternity. I watched her move through the crowd, elegant, untouchable, the world revolving around her as if my presence were invisible. And then the conversation came, the confrontation I had been both dreading and craving. "Do you love me?" I asked, voice breaking despite every effort to keep it steady. She paused, fingers brushing her hair, eyes avoiding mine. "I don't know what love even means anymore," she admitted. "Maybe I loved you once. Maybe I still do. But that doesn't mean I'm bound to stay loyal. People change. Feelings change. I change." Her words tore through me, each one a scalpel carving away the last remnants of hope. I wanted to hate her, to curse her, to leave this night in a storm of fury and grief. But I couldn't. Because even now, even with the betrayal laid bare, there was a twisted part of me that still ached for her, that still remembered the warmth of her hands, the sound of her laugh, the way she had once made me believe in forever. By the time the party ended, I was hollowed out. I walked through the emptying hallways, past discarded glasses and crumpled napkins, past faces blurred with smiles and oblivion. I realized, with a clarity that was both liberating and devastating, that the woman I thought I knew was gone. Or perhaps she had never existed at all. I stood outside, under the indifferent sweep of the night sky, and let the wind cut through me. There was no catharsis, no satisfying vengeance, no sudden revelation that would ease the ache. Only the bitter truth. Love is not always reciprocal, trust is fragile, and sometimes, the people you think you can rely on will choose themselves over you in the most public, humiliating way possible. I didn't know what the next day would bring. Perhaps confrontation. Perhaps silence. Perhaps walking away from everything I had built around a future that now felt like a lie. But one thing was certain. I would never see her, or him, the same way again. And in that certainty, bitter as it was, I found a strange, quiet resolve. The betrayal had broken something inside me, but it had also awakened a part of me that would no longer be naive. And in the distance, beneath the glimmer of the city lights, I realized something else. I had lost her, but I hadn't lost myself.